Good morning and welcome to our daily devotion. You know, it's really funny how God um, sort of gives me inspiration and stuff for our devotions. And truly believe that God has a sense of humor. My brother and my sister-in-law invited me to lunch on Saturday. And while we were sitting there, I was flipping through some of her pictures that she had taken of me and my grandchildren and stuff. And she showed me this one thing, and I looked at it and I just burst out laughing because it is so true. But it led me to thinking about all the other things that go along with this. And our devotion today is on our attitudes. But first, let me tell you what this little cartoon said. It was a little minion, and it said, have you ever had one of those days when you feel like you're the stick and everybody else is a pinata? Oh, yes, I've had those little days. But it's about our attitude. And often, when we feel that way, or we feel like everything is just like, ugh, and we just want to strike out the first person who speaks to us, or we snap at somebody because they said hello, or whatever. You know, it really has nothing to do with the people that come in contact with us when we're feeling that way. It really has more to do with us, what's on the inside of us. And there's an old saying that you should have a checkup before, checkup from the neck up. Not in this case. We need to start with the heart, and that's what matters. And so I was looking about our attitudes and how we should start every day with the attitude that Christ wants us to have, and no matter what our circumstances are. And I found some scriptures in the best places in our Bible that I want to share with you today. One of them is in Matthew 5, and let's see if I can find it. Well, I marked the page and forgot to mark the verse. Okay, Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Now, if we're walking around carrying a big stick and acting like everybody's a pinata, we are not letting people see the light of God shine out in us, are we? I don't think so. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard. It's not an easy thing. But we can do this. We can do this. And then the next verse that I want to share with you is in Philippians. It talks a lot about our attitude. And I want to read Philippians 1:27 first. It says, only conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or remain absent, I will hear of you that you are standing firm in one spirit with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. Let's talk a little bit about that. Conduct yourself in a manner worthy of Christ. Well, I think in order to do that, we have to see what Christ, how did he conduct himself? How was his attitude? Well, Christ had an attitude of humility, and he was very humble and loved, and he was non-judgmental, and he approached people with love. And even people that weren't the best people in society, he treated them in the same way. We have to conduct ourselves in the manner of Christ. When we're having bad thoughts and we feel like we better not talk to anybody, well, I pray, then I grab a cup of coffee. But in all seriousness, we need to talk to the Lord about it, because we need to check up. We need to start our hearts. And what is in here will come out of here eventually. You can't hide darkness in your heart very long, because it will come out. And there's a verse in the Bible, and I apologize for not knowing exactly where it is, but it says what's done in the dark will eventually come to light. And I know that many things that I thought were hidden have come to light, and I'm not very happy about it. But it's God's way of checking us, you know. We have to check our hearts. You know, the Bible tells us to guard our hearts so that we may not sin against God, that we might not be deceived. And a lot of times when we wake up for no apparent reason with negative attitudes or whatever, it's Satan. He's playing with us, and we can't let him win that battle. But I also have another scriptures for us. It's also in the book of Philippians, and it's Philippians 2, 3, and 4. And it says, "Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interest of others." And then in verse 5 it says, "Have this attitude in yourself, which was also in Christ Jesus." Wow. You know, we have, if we start thinking at people and the interests of other people above our own interests, above our own feelings, then we will develop a mind of Christ. We will develop the attitude of Christ. In verse 8, it also says in Philippians verse 8, "By being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. For this reason also God highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name which is above every name." Y'all, Christ humbled himself. He came to this earth. He didn't have to. You know, God didn't have to send his son down here to die for us. God didn't have to be made human. He was God. But he humbled himself. He was made human. He lived here on earth as a human. And he loved. And he saved. And he healed. And he blessed us. And he had real reason to have a bad attitude. I mean, let's face it. He was mocked. He was beaten. He was spat on. And ultimately he died on the cross. Now, if all that happened to us, how do you think our attitude would be? When Paul was writing this, he was in prison. Prison. If Paul could have an attitude of gratitude in prison, shouldn't we be able to have an attitude of gratitude and love and humility here on earth? I'm just saying. Now, is it easy? No. Am I perfect at it? Heck no. I mess up all the time. I'm human, and so are you. But when you start feeling that negative attitude creep in, go back to the source that can help you. Go back to the Word. Get on your knees and pray. Ask God to help you so that you can truly have an attitude of one of humility and gratitude toward Christ, in Christ, and toward others. Thank you this morning for joining my daily devotion. Now, I don't usually promote my other videos on this channel because it's just our devotions. But I have an update on the little young lady that we're praying for. And I'm going to do that update all at one time on my Monday morning coffee, video. Because there are people who have commented and praying for her that don't necessarily watch our devotions every morning. And that's okay. But I want to be able to reach out to all of those who have watched. So I will be updating her on our Monday morning coffee. But for everybody else on our prayer list here, please keep them in your prayers. Miss Jackie Crafty J.J. Newton's niece April with the cancer situation she's going through. Stacy, her daughter, who is having some health problems. My friend Shannon Teague, who is going through a rough patch right now. She really needs prayers as well. And if you have specific prayer requests that you don't mind me sharing here on our daily devotion, you can put anonymous if you want to. I don't have to mention any names. Leave them below in the description box so that we can have the privilege of praying for one another. Thank you for joining me this morning. Have a beautiful, blessed week. God bless. Bye-bye.